stepping into a dead man's shoes, or maybe a dead woman's shoes. Sophie Hannah, a hugely successful novelist in her own right, has now penned 2 Hercule Poirot novels, and she's here to talk to us in the author studio.
Best writing tip, I think, is to develop your own sort of inner editor, which is quite hard to do, but if you can develop that sort of objective distance from your own work so that you write something and when you read it through you know what's wrong with it and you know what needs to be corrected before anyone else sees it. You can only really do this after listening to lots of editorial advice from lots of different people, and gradually, through weeding out the good advice from the bad over a period of months or years, you end up developing your own sort of inner editor that you can then listen to thereafter. So yeah, I suppose the tip would be, when you first start writing, listen to, get feedback, get editorial advice from lots of different people, and notice how you react to that advice. When people tell you, change your book in this way, change your book in that way, do you feel, yeah, that will actually make it a lot better, or do you think, no, they've got it all wrong, they don't understand? Through that process, you hone your own editorial skills, and then once you've got your own inner editor, then you'll write much more confidently. A Game for All the Family, and it's a standalone psychological thriller about a woman who moves herself and her family to Devon, leaves London, goes to Devon to start a new life, and almost immediately in this new house in Devon on the River Dart, strange, sinister things start to happen. She has to work out what's going on and who the threat is coming from in order to save her family. And that book was huge fun to write because within it there's a golden age style, very, very high concept Baroque mystery story, and you don't know who's writing it, but it's interwoven with the main story, and in the end the heroine, Justine, has to solve the mystery story within the novel in order to save her and her family's life. So I really enjoyed writing that book. I write whenever I can, wherever I happen to be, because I have 2 children and a dog and a husband, and all of them regularly demand attention. So whenever I get a spare hour, a couple of hours, if I'm on a train, if I'm in a taxi, if I'm on a plane, in an airport lounge, I whip out my laptop and do a quick chapter. The book that it first inspired me was The Body in the Library, a Miss Marple novel by Agatha Christie, and I then read all of Agatha Christie's books, and it was her work that made me fall in love with mystery fiction. And if it wasn't for Agatha Christie, I doubt I would have decided to become a crime writer. I don't really hold with the idea of guilty pleasures. I tend to assume that if I enjoy doing something, that it must be a great thing to do. I sometimes feel slightly guilty about having dim sum for breakfast. Certainly when other people are at my house and they see me eating dim sum for breakfast, they say, what's wrong with you? Why can't you have cereal and toast like a normal person? So that, I suppose, is quite an indulgence, and I do love to have dim sum and Tabasco sauce for breakfast. But I don't feel that guilty about it. It's not so much a ritual as just procrastination, but I never start writing without looking at Twitter, getting a sense of what news there is, and actually if you look at Twitter for 5 seconds you know if anything important's happened, but also seeing what people are arguing about. I like to sort of, if not get involved in an argument, at least monitor 1 or 2 arguments before I get sick of it, and then eventually I think I'm so sick of looking at Twitter, and that's when I'll start to write. Writing was always my favourite hobby as a kid. It was always, the only thing that I was really interested in doing apart from reading and hanging out with my friends. So I always knew that I would write and carry on writing. I was quite obsessive about it and always have been, but I never thought I will become a writer, as in that will be the main thing I do. I just thought it would always be my favourite hobby. I plan in meticulous detail. Before I start writing the actual book, I will work very hard on a plan which is typically between sort of 50 and 100 pages long. And I like to have a plan that's as close as possible to the whole book in note form. And that's very useful because it means you can focus on the sort of story architecture and the layout of everything. You know, is this in its proper place? Is everything where it should be? You can do all that, get that sorted before you have to start writing. Then when you come to write the actual book, or certainly in my case, I like to be able to concentrate on writing as well as I possibly can without simultaneously worrying about the plot and is everything in the right order. So I basically sort of divide writing into two stages which are equally important, the planning stage and the writing itself. I wouldn't say I hate, I mean, I'm happy to answer whatever people ask me. I always sort of privately and internally have a slightly weary sigh when people say, you know, why do women like crime fiction, or why are women so good at writing crime? And for years, actually, I would try to sort of produce an answer to this. But I think it's just a stupid question because, you know, crime fiction is ace. Obviously, people are going to like it because it's the most fun genre there is. And women are a large proportion of people. So, you know, why wouldn't women like it? Why wouldn't women be good at writing it? You know, they're just people like men. You know, so to me, that question makes no more sense than why do men write good crime fiction? So, yeah, I always, when I'm asked that, I always think, oh, God, not the women question again. I've never lost a serious amount of work. I'm quite neurotic, so I regularly email, you know, after every day's writing, I email the latest draft of anything to myself. But I think I once lost a day's work because I didn't save until I was going to save at the end, and something weird happened on my computer, and suddenly an entire Word document turned to squiggles, which was absolutely terrifying. But luckily the last saved draft was still there, but I'd lost something like 2,000 words. But even that feels pretty bad. I can't imagine how people feel who lose a whole book.
If you've enjoyed watching Sophie Hannah, please remember to like and to share this. I'd love to hear from you in the comment box below. Any other fictional character that you think could be brought back to life by another writer?